Alrighty, so for our next little lesson, we're going to build a tower. The way I did that is I took our scene. I'm going to back John Lemon out of here for a second. I just went in and I added a new... Let me get rid of some of this stuff. So the first thing we're going to do, I just continued from our old project. I just dragged in... I went into our hierarchy, and I'm going to hit 3D object, and I'm going to create... Actually, I'm going to hit create empty. I'm going to create empty, and I'm going to name it structure. And this is where we're going to put all of our 3D objects in here, just like they are in our older project. So structure is going to be where we put all of our 3D objects. From structure, I'm going to right-click that, and I'm going to add a 3D object. I'm going to add a plane, and I'm going to move it to... Actually, let me set the position of this structure. That's messing me up already. 0, 0, 0. And then let me use my move tool. Let's change the Z to 10, let's say. Z is 10. 0, 0. Okay, let's change the Z to 20. And you might have noticed, but the coordinates of this plane, they're inside of this structure, empty object. So they end up being relative. So it's at 0, 0, 0. It's relative to the structure above it. So the structure is at Z is 20. This plane is at Z is 0. It's because it's centered on that thing. You don't have to know that yet, but it is important. It is cool to know. So on this plane, we're going to start building a tower. So the first thing I need to do, I'm going to right-click structure, and I'm going to create more 3D objects. These are going to be centered on wherever the center point of my structure is. In this case, it's the same point as the plane. If your 3D object is spawning really far from your plane, it probably means that your structure coordinates are very far away. So again, I'm going to add some 3D objects, and we want to build a tower. So I'm going to add 2 cylinders, let's say. Let's add 2 cylinders. Add object, 3D object. Let's add a cylinder. Let's add a cylinder. And I'll add a cube, and I'll stretch that cube to look like a rectangle. So let's add a 3D object. Let's add a cube. And it's really far away because it was in the main scene. Let's add a cube to structure. Add a 3D object. Let's add a cube. There it is. And I'm going to use this new tool called the scale tool. The scale tool lets me click and drag and stretch out the sizes of my components, my assets. Now this looks like a pretty nice tower to start with. Let's see how it works when I press play. So I'm going to press play, and let's see what happens. Once it loads, we'll see the problem. Oh no! I meant to build a tower with physics. This tower, everything's floating. We forgot to add gravity. This is the same thing we did in our prior lesson. We're going to click Add Component, and we need to make sure we include a rigid body. Now, rigid body has lots of properties. Mass is how heavy something is. So this is a bigger piece, so maybe I'll say it's heavier. Maybe I'll say it's 10 times heavier than these cylinders. And maybe I have these cylinders, and I have to add a rigid body. These rigid bodies have the use gravity function. That's going to tell us, that gravity is active on them. I have to add component, rigid body. So now I have 3 objects that interact with physics. They have colliders, and they're visible. They have meshes. Meshes let us see them. Colliders let them hit other things, and rigid bodies lets physics work on them. So physics is going to make them fall. Their colliders will make them hit each other and stop, and we'll see all of that because of their mesh renderers. Perfect. That was beautiful. Let's keep adding to this tower. As we make it taller, it might get more and more complex to keep it up, and we might need to use a few more little tricks to keep it going. So right now I'm hitting Control-C and Control-V to copy pieces of my tower and expand it upwards. And let's see how this works. Now these pieces might maybe fall into place. They're really high up. I'm expecting this to collapse. I'm fully expecting this to just fall all over the place. But let's see. Maybe it surprises me. Yeah, it falls all over the place. That obviously doesn't work. Let's try bringing them closer together. That might be a good step. I'm going to grab my move tool. I'm going to select them all. And I'll drag them down. And I'll bring them closer together. And I'll bring everything a little closer together. This still, I believe, should not work. For a number of reasons. Let's hit play. That might clip there. That might cause like a little explosion. We'll see. Okay. So I don't know if you're catching it, but these corners of the cylinder, if I go in my scene, if I zoom in on the cylinder, the corner of the cylinder is actually going inside of my plane. The corner of the cylinder is going inside of my plane. That shouldn't be happening. The corners of my cylinders are not colliding. That's because our collider is actually different than our mesh. Our mesh is what we see. We see a cylinder. But what's colliding is not a cylinder. What's colliding on all of these is this little pill shape. This green pill shape. And you might notice that this green pill shape has rounded corners. We're going to get a new collider. I'm going to get rid of these capsule colliders, and I'm going to add a mesh collider. A mesh collider is going to make the collider match the mesh. It looks a little sloppy, but if I look at it, it actually matches the outside mesh's triangles perfectly. We have to check this convex tab, or else it will not work. So now I'm going to get rid of this collider. I'm going to add a mesh collider to this component as well. I'll set it to convex, and now this has a mesh collider. This has a mesh collider. Those will be much more stable. I'm going to delete these pillars in the middle, and I'm going to copy paste these two up a few more times. And now when we hit play, hopefully this is somewhat more stable. I don't expect this to stand, but we could tweak a couple more things. Oh, and it stood. It stood for long enough. Okay, it's standing. Okay, it's standing. Okay, I'm going to end this video before it falls down. This is a beautiful structure. You guys can design a structure like this for class today. Screenshot it using the snipping tool. I'll go over that one more time. Go into Microsoft, type in snip. Once you design your balanced structure, hit new, click and drag, and it's save as. You can submit that on Schoology for today's assignment. Now this cat is going to come over and sabotage my structure. Oh no! Kill John Lemon. Okay, so John Lemon has officially destroyed my tower. One more step you could do to make this a lot nicer for the screenshot is you could go into materials, just like we did last time, and you could drag in some materials to make these things look nicer. That's a quick step that adds, a lot of detail to your designs. So that is about it. I'm going to end it here. Good luck, and if you need anything, reach out and email me. This is a beautiful little tower that we designed today. You design your own design, make it original, make it creative, add your own details. Thank you guys, and have a great, great, great day. How do I turn off this video?